For more on the current situation in Lebanon, we're joined from Iowa by Mr. Noman Abu Isa, a political analyst on U.S. affairs. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Let's start off by asking you, given the intense clashes and the conflicting political statements, is Lebanon's ceasefire now effectively just ink on paper?
Greetings. Yes, the ceasefire, which started about a year ago between Lebanon and Israel never respected the terms of the ceasefire and continued to bomb Hezbollah. They weakened Hezbollah after Israel was able to penetrate its ranks and weaken the forces from within. And also, there are regional areas which are also changing the dynamic and the balance of power in the area. So Hezbollah is weakened, but it's been a year now, and Hezbollah has not been eliminated, and Israel wants to try to eliminate Hezbollah, and that is a task which is next to impossible because Hezbollah has also a political wing in the government, in the Lebanese government, and that wing also effective and has a good number of members. And that's what we see today, that the government is trying to condemn the Israeli attacks, and then the United States is trying to support Israel in its pursuit to disarm Hezbollah. So Hezbollah is not a regular army, but they are a militia, underground type of militia, and the Lebanese army will not be able to disarm Hezbollah, even though the Israeli and the Americans are asking the Lebanese army to disarm Hezbollah.
Okay, what about the United States' role here? Are they going to attempt in any way to salvage or redefine the terms of this already very fragile deal, given not only that Hezbollah is refusing to disarm, but also the Israelis have violated the ceasefire agreement for the last year or so?
Yeah, the United States is trying to stop the escalation from becoming a full war between Hezbollah and Israel again. They are trying to quiet the northern front as much as they are trying to quiet the Gaza Strip as well. So those struggles have been backfiring on the Israelis and the Americans in the international community, and they want to marginalize those conflicts to pursue other goals in the area. The United States mentioned clearly that they want to pursue the Abraham Accord with more countries in the area, but they cannot do that before they resolve the conflict in Lebanon and also in Gaza.
So, given what you just said there, do you think that possibly this ceasefire is effectively dead? What sort of new diplomatic mechanisms could be used to prevent further escalations and this turning into a full-scale war like we've seen in 2024?
Israel has already given orders to three villages to evacuate. They are targeting civilian areas, and that is in violation of international law. And they are also hitting, they threaten to hit more targets, including South Beirut, the capital of Lebanon.
Yes. But
And
that really hasn't just stopped the Israelis from acting. They violate ceasefires. But I mean, when it comes to the US's role, do you think that they could possibly pressure the Israelis or maybe even come up with a new ceasefire deal that will attempt to keep the peace?
It's next to impossible because Israel is still pursuing a complete victory in Lebanon. They are still pursuing a complete disarmament for Hezbollah. At the same time, they want to have the upper hand to continue attack and occupy part of Lebanon and asking for the disarmament for Hezbollah. And at the same time, I guess the government is looking forward to be able to work with the American government and to normalize some of the banking and commercial relations with the United States. However, the United States is putting the pressure on the Lebanese government to try to disarm Hezbollah, where the Lebanese government is not able to disarm Hezbollah. If Israel was not able to disarm Hezbollah, I don't think the Lebanese government will be able to do that other than by negotiation and trying to include the Hezbollah forces within the army ranks. And that is probably will not be acceptable to the United States or to Israel.
Okay, we're joined now again from Beirut by Mr. Marcel Balouchi, a military expert, to talk to us as well about what's going on now in Lebanon. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Let's start off by asking you, how serious is the current escalation along the southern Lebanese border, and what does this indicate about the stability of the ceasefire in the next few days?
Good evening to you and to your honorable guest. I only heard half of the question, but Hezbollah is still there, along with the state, are buying time in spite of all the apparent shifts for the militias and the Middle East and the Abraham Accords and the normalization efforts are not being read clearly by the Lebanese side. Uh, and what happened today, what happened recently, demolished all the Lebanese efforts recently, and it blew away the resolutions of the government and everything the Lebanese people has been working for. And apparently there is some kind of synergy between the state and Hezbollah. The state is standing behind Hezbollah, not the other way around. And here the state is a mediator between Hezbollah and the US side. And now Hezbollah is working to make up for their losses by their abilities to gain control over the state. And the only solution here will be the cleansing of all the false allegiances by activating the institutional work. In the shadow institution now governing Lebanon obstac- uh, is still an obstacle to the regional project, and no one is sensing that the Israeli political goal in Lebanon is taking its course, which is normalization and taking the weapons of Hezbollah. The Lebanese situation is still complicated and suspended, and there is a lot of risk in the situation. There is only now the military option as expressed by the Israeli side, and
Yes.
the military option here and the escalation for Hezbollah is the only option, and Hezbollah is um, making a point of bragging about their capabilities before the Israeli side, who's going to take advantage of this.
So, if I could just follow up there, sir, from what you just said there, obviously this is a game that both sides are playing. When it comes to these escalations, that the military option is still on the table. Given the ongoing escalations, what specific red lines, in your opinion, are there from either side, whether it be Israel or Hezbollah, that could transform what's happening right now into a full-scale open confrontation?
Currently will take till the end of the year. For the state is trying to realize this risk, and there is a full preparedness efforts. The current efforts taken by the Lebanese state might actually help, but the war is still going and still suspended and waiting for the Lebanese state to show alternative options and to take control over the executive institutions and to clarify the misunderstanding between the execution by the end of this year to take the weapons and disarm all non-state factors in Lebanon. And this is the sticking point, and this is the hesitation taking place in Lebanon at the moment.
Okay, Mr. Norman, if we can back to you again now and talk to you a bit about in Beirut. Is the US's stance linking disarmament to avoiding an Israeli war seen as a diplomatic form of pressure or a coordinated effort between the Israeli side to threaten further military action? Is it even feasible?
Yeah, the only way it's feasible that if Israel does a ground invasion of Lebanon, and I don't think Israel can afford to go into the ground. They are targeting Hezbollah from the air, and that is superior strength for Israel. They have the upper hand in the air, and that's what they are using because that is not impacting their army. However, their army tried to penetrate the Lebanese land, and they failed, and they are not capable of invading Lebanon and disarming Hezbollah. And then they are trying at this point, I think, to try to keep the no peace, no war, no full war
So
situation
these are
by
empty threats of open war, in your opinion?
come again. I'm sorry.
Open war is just an empty threat.
I mean, they are not empty threat because they are using real weapons, and they are targeting real Hezbollah targets in the south of Lebanon and in Beirut, and they are still targeting the leadership. In the past, they were able to penetrate Hezbollah and target Hezbollah from within. But I think Hezbollah have had immunity, and they are trying to regroup now and retrain their new leadership in the party, and that is causing a threat to the Israeli. The Israeli wants peace at the northern front, and they will not be able to get that peace with this kind of superior approach to the Lebanese forces. And this is going to continue at a low level, I believe, skirmishes where Israel continue to bomb, and then the Lebanese forces, Hezbollah, will continue to strengthen its presence in South Lebanon.
Okay, Mr. Marcel, if we can get your opinion here. Now, we've seen contradictory statements coming out of the Lebanese government, one of them being the Lebanese Prime Minister Nawaf Saddam stating that any decision when it comes to war and peace belongs exclusively to the state, rightly so, but how can they enforce government principles when it comes to Hezbollah, who are refusing to negotiate with the Israelis and disarm, but at the same time, the Israelis are kind of forcing the Hezbollah hands when it comes to disarming because they're continuing to violate the ceasefire.
Question, I haven't heard it in full, but again, Hezbollah yesterday blew up the negotiations. They said clearly that there will be no negotiation with the Israeli side, and that we and President Shara we started the negotiation path at the same time. But they have Syria has taken a lot of positive steps, but we are still exactly where we are, stumbling negotiations directly and indirectly. And for right now, the higher authority is calling for a new agreement. The 49 agreement is not working anymore. We require a new one, and the current one cannot be applied as Hezbollah is taking the same path right again, reassembling its capabilities. So there will be no normalization, no peace, and the Lebanese situation will remain complicated with more escalation and more sticking points for the deterioration of the Lebanese internal affairs, and especially that Hezbollah has very limited alternative options. They are only adopting escalation and devastation, and this is not the solution. All wars end after, no matter how long the battle is. So there must be real negotiations as much as possible. Right now, we are able to have some terms and conditions and improving the Lebanese side in terms of setting their terms. We are heading towards the unknown, and the Lebanese is heading for more losses and casualties. Hezbollah is is pressuring the Lebanese government, and this only resulted in more devastation, more deterioration of the situation.
But, sir, if
Right.
you don't mind me cutting you off there, but also the argument from the other side, if we can discuss the other side's argument, is that basically the Israelis are also violating the ceasefire agreement. So how can they negotiate on an even-ended table if the Israelis are not letting up and continuing to escalate things in the south of Lebanon? Mr. Marcel, are you still with us? Okay, it seems that there may be a bit of a technical issue there. We'll try to get back to him again. Mr. Norman, if Hezbollah continues to assert the right to maintain arms, what is the endgame for the Lebanese government's plan? Could this lead to internal confrontation? And is this actually what the Israelis may be aiming for when it comes to asking for Hezbollah to disarm, at the same time not letting up on the south of Lebanon?
The Israeli government is pressuring the Lebanese government into conforming to its rules if they want to be accepted with the international community, and they are using the international institutions as a pressure point on the Lebanese government to pressure the Lebanese resistance in South Lebanon. That kind of pressure also is very hard because the Lebanese army is not responding to the Israeli incursions and the Israeli attacks on Lebanon, and there is a sentiment in the public that Lebanon has the right to defend itself and has the right to have resistance to the Israeli aggression and the Israeli attacks, and that is putting the Lebanese government in a dilemma. How could they ask Hezbollah to disarm and not able at the same time to counter the attacks by the Israeli government? And that is, I guess, also, as I mentioned earlier, that the Lebanese resistance have a political arm in the parliament in Lebanon. They are a strong minority in the Lebanese politics, and they are not going to be sidelined because of Israel wants to sideline them. And that is the dilemma the Lebanon is seeing today, and that is the Israeli government wants to continue this kind of no peace with the Lebanon. They don't want that Lebanon to prosper again and become able to attack Israel from the north. They want to continue the economic pressure on the whole state of Lebanon, including Hezbollah, and trying to put the blame on Hezbollah at the same time. And that is strategy I think Israel is trying to get, and they want to keep that scare tactic, I guess, with the Lebanon from the north, and they don't want to have peace. This is Netanyahu. He's not able to have peace with his neighbors. He has challenges from within his own government, and if he has peace with in the area, then he will be going to the court and he will be tried for his failures. And he wants to keep the state of war going at as many fronts as he can.
Okay, we have Mr. Marcel back with us again. Let me ask you, sir, now, the Prime Minister has said that the government has a clear decision on the state's monopoly over arms. What concrete steps are needed to translate this decision into action, especially given Hezbollah's opposition and them dragging their feet basically on this issue? Are you still with us, Mr. Marcel? Okay, it seems that we're still having some technical issues there. Let's go back to you, Mr. Norman. Now, if the disarmament deadline does pass without any tangible progress, which it looks like it's going to happen, what kind of leverage does Washington have to sort of enforce or force the hand of Hezbollah, I suppose, and the Lebanese government into disarming them?
The American government have economic leverage, and they are going to use their economic leverage on the Lebanese government to try to do what is asked of them. But they do understand that also the American government understands that Netanyahu is going too far in his demands, and even the American president has put some pressure on Netanyahu in the past in Gaza to go into negotiation with the Hamas group in the Gaza Strip, and he might put some pressure also on the Israeli government to lower their pitch, I guess, to lower their threat on the Lebanese people and the Lebanese government, because that situation does not serve the American government, who's trying to marginalize the Palestinian conflict and the conflict with Lebanon, because they want to have a peace situation where they can advance the American interest and the Israeli interest by having more people sign up to the Abraham Accord and try to get into peace negotiation. They are working hard to do the same thing with Syria, at least try to quiet the Syrian front on the Golan Heights with Israel, and they want to do the same thing with Lebanon if they can.
Okay, we're going to attempt to talk to Mr. Mossad again there, sir. Hopefully you can hear me this time. Now, the Prime Minister has said that the government has a clear decision on the state's property over arms. What sort of concrete steps are needed to translate this decision into action, given Hezbollah's opposition, and how can they actually force Hezbollah into disarming?
The foreign minister said that the government is insisting on confining the arm ownership, but they are unable to do so because there is division in the executive authority, and the actual execution of such a decision will meet a lot of hindrances, which is the division inside the government. The Prime Minister himself alone will not be able to do so, as the political decision is divided, and that's why we will not see any actual or realistic steps and the situation will remain stumbling without any real steps towards execution. The Lebanese government, the foreign minister and the prime minister will not be able to execute the military plan. This will remain suspended without any real execution because Hezbollah is still there and the Lebanese landscape is still the same, with a lot of obstacles to the political decision.
Well, sir, as you said, there are a lot of obstacles when it comes to the Lebanese issue. Now, the President Joseph Aoun, described the Israeli strikes as a violation of international law, and we even went as far as describing it as despicable political crimes. Does the state view these strikes as possible justification for Hezbollah to continue to resist the disarmament? Wouldn't this be a factor in why they don't want to hand over their arms to the state?
The state does not want to give up. They wanted to activate the political initiative, the political path. It cannot remain the prisoner of Hezbollah. The Lebanese government is unable to take any actual decision, and condemning Israel, of course it is condemned because of course they are occupiers, but activating the truth will not take its actual course without negotiations, as the Shia duo is now refusing to conform with the Lebanese trends. Now the Lebanese government is held hostage by the Hezbollah decision, as stated by the Secretary of State of the U.S., that we will not leave the Lebanese government as hostage for Hezbollah. And we require external help. Lebanon stands alone and unable before the Hezbollah decision. Of course, the Lebanese military is highly equipped, but it's not about the technical capabilities, it's about the political aspect and hindering the Lebanese decision and taking over all state institutions. And that's why the Hezbollah capabilities are now higher compared to the Lebanese government, and that's why we cannot see any actual facts or steps by the Lebanese government because they cannot actually carry out any
Yes,
execution.
as you said there, we're going to end on that note there that the Lebanese government is facing a lot of obstacles, but unfortunately we're out of time. Mr. Marcel Badourchier, military expert, and Mr. Norman Abouaissa, a political analyst on U.S. affairs. Thank you both for joining me here on Think Tank. This brings us to the end of today's episode of Think Tank, which always unveils a very complex world that we live in. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more updates here on Q News.